Donald Trump has apparently caved in his threats to invade Greenland or take it over by force or acquire it. His threats against Greenland and Denmark rightfully sparked international outrage and solidarity against Donald Trump's regime. And while in Davos, Donald Trump just posted the following moments ago, where he announced a fake deal with Greenland and Denmark and NATO with no terms, with no specifics, just one of Donald Trump's fake deals as he caves in order to try to save face. Let me read it for you, and then I'll also show you that Donald Trump moments ago spoke with the press where he talked about this fake deal now that he says he's entered into with Greenland and Denmark that's indefinite, and he got what he wanted the whole time. It's just so utterly pathetic and weak that he does this over and over again. And let's be clear, I'm glad that he's not going to invade Greenland, or at least he says that, but his words are meaningless. Who the hell knows what he even means at this point? It's pathetic. It's loser behavior, and the world just needs to stand up to it, and people need to stand up against this utter insanity. Here's what he posted. Based upon a very productive meeting that I have had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland, and in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. Additional discussions are being held concerning the Golden Dome as it pertains to Greenland. Further information will be made available as discussions progress. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and various others as needed will be responsible for the negotiations. They will report directly to me. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You notice the fraud language he uses all the time. We are forming a framework for a future deal with respect to fill in the blank. It's always a framework for something in the future, but we never get to see what the terms are. It's just yet another fake deal by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump held a press briefing after he posted that, and he was asked, so what does this deal include? Will the United States have ownership of Greenland? Because that's what you've been saying over and over again. And in the speech you just made in Davos this morning at the World Economic Forum, you kept on saying that America needs to acquire it. So you're no longer doing that. Watch Donald Trump's response here. I'll play this clip.
It's a deal that everybody's very happy with.
Does it still include you? Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
You heard him? He's like, it's a long-term deal. It's long-term. So then he's asked, how long? What are the terms? How long is the deal, Donald? And he goes, infinite. Infinite? You did an infinite deal? This is just so utterly pathetic. Infinite. And people are like, oh, the art of the deal. Anybody? No, it's this. I make a stupid decision, something really bad happens, I convince my followers the problem is now magically solved, I reverse my stupid decision. As our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes, I have an update on Greenland. Here's Donald Trump saying the deal will be infinite. Here, play this clip.
How long would the deal be, Mr. President?
Infinite.
Speak to Denmark. There's no
time limit. It's forever.
And how would you ratify the deal?
It's signed forever.
But you haven't signed anything yet, right?
It's a deal that's forever.
So then, state regime media, which calls itself Fox, which has been parroting Donald Trump's I need to acquire Greenland talking points and America needs to take it over by force talking points on its shows over and over again. Well, now they say, well, Donald Trump described it as an infinite deal. What do you think he means by that? Watch as they try to make sense of this on the Will Cain Show. Play this clip.
So joining me now is former U.S. Ambassador to Denmark and Greenland, Carla Sands. Thanks for being with us here today. I don't know if you have more information than what we've been able to gather so far on the framework of this potential deal. What is your suspicion on President Trump described it as an infinite deal, a big win for all parties, which is an interesting framing considering earlier today he said, who in the hell in their right mind would want to lease or license presence on Greenland?
Yeah, I don't know what he's ended up with. I know that he said unequivocally that we had to own it. And I had thought it would be a COFA, more like a free association, but that's not what that is. So does it look more like our relationship with Puerto Rico? I'm looking forward to learning as much as you are about this new deal, that the framework is in place. But it's really encouraging. And then, of course,
they got to bring in Caroline Leavitt, who then, I guess, missed the Trump announcement because she's like, anyone who doubts that Trump is being serious is not paying attention. Did you just see what he just did, Caroline? Okay, Caroline, here, play this clip.
So we'll see how these negotiations continue. But I would, again, just point out that to everyone who thinks this is a very ambitious and perhaps crazy idea as it's being spun up in the media, this is something presidents have talked about for a long time. And look at the deals President Trump has been able to broker over the past year. The release of the Israeli hostages, 8 wars solved because of his negotiating skills. Anyone who doubts President Trump clearly has not been paying attention.
And then Caroline Leavitt says that Donald Trump's speech got rave reviews. You mean he was ranting and raving like a psychotic lunatic? Is that what you mean? Here, play this clip.
Meeting with today and discussing with. And I know they were all very pleased with his speech. I was in the room, John, and it has rave reviews because the president just tells it like it is. And he came here with his America First vision on full display, talking about how the American economy is booming once again through massive deregulation, an energy boom. The president fulfilling his promise to drill, baby, drill. You look at the tax cuts he signed into law. All of these things coming together to put together a really exceptional American economy. And I think he's really inspiring a lot of leaders in Europe to take that same approach. The Green New Scam energy failed policies of Europe and mass migration are failing these great countries. And so I think the president really struck an inspirational tone with all of them today. But of course, that has yet to be seen if they will act accordingly.
And then Caroline Leavitt posts the following. She posts a photo of an iceberg in Greenland, not an iceberg. And in response to somebody named Libby Dean, who says, during Donald Trump's World Economic Forum remarks, Trump appeared to mix up Greenland and Iceland around 3 times. It may have been more than that, but Trump repeatedly referred to Greenland as Iceland. Remember the video I did this morning? So then Caroline Leavitt says, no, he didn't, Libby. His written remarks refer to Greenland as a piece of ice because that's what it is. You're the only one mixing up anything here. We saw the speech. Donald Trump confused Greenland with Iceland multiple times. Even this open source intelligence defender account, which is sometimes leaning more sympathetic to Trump than I would like. This account even goes, he literally said Iceland several times this morning when talking about Greenland. Are you stupid, Caroline, or are you just purposefully ignorant? Here was Donald Trump saying that we need to take over Greenland, and then he confused it with Iceland, and he would say, Iceland, we need to take over Iceland, 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 Iceland. Listen to what he says for yourself. And then after giving this speech, he then announces that he made an infinite framework for a deal that will be discussed in the future. What are we talking about here? Here, play this clip.
Decades. But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. If we gave them the call, gentlemen, we are being attacked. We're under attack by such and such a nation. I know them all very well. I'm not sure that they'd be there. I know we'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us. So with all of the money we expend, with all of the blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
And then state regime media, which calls itself Fox, they got to get their engine into high gear to prop up Donald Trump's new propaganda that this was all part of his plan. And then Fox is like, the stock market is booming right now because Donald Trump has announced this great deal. He's just manipulating the markets, okay? While the American people are suffering, while people are getting their health care ripped away, while people can't afford a home, they can't afford their rent, or if they're lucky enough to own a home and have a mortgage, they can't afford it. People can't afford groceries. We're in a jobs recession right now, okay? People are struggling in this country, and you're just playing these stupid games that have real consequences because the world is creating alliances now and cutting the United States out, and the United States is not viewed as a stable place anymore for people to look to invest or people to look at in general. The United States looks like a crazy place under a crazy wannabe king. But this is what Fox was saying. The stock market is booming now. Here, play this clip.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and we got a lot of breaking news for you this afternoon, and a market in America that is on fire. And here's why. Moments ago, President Trump, what a day this has been. You know, you go from the early part of the day, people with their hair on fire, leaders in Europe. Now you have President Trump moments ago posting this major progress in the push to take control of Greenland after calling for immediate talks at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Now, the president has posted this on Truth Social, quote, based on a very productive meeting that I've had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. So this breakthrough, what looks like a breakthrough at this point, comes just hours after the president sent a very strong message about the U.S. economy, about the way to correct some of the economies in Europe, and the national security and regional security needs that he wants to address with the Greenland issue. This is the message at Davos earlier today.
And so then you had California Governor Gavin Newsom. He was in Davos at the World Economic Forum and basically functioning as a shadow president of the United States, representing like democracy and representing the other part of America at Davos. And he was asked, like, what do you make of Donald Trump continuing to confuse Greenland and Iceland over and over again? Here, play this clip.
Did it stand out to you that he said Iceland multiple times when he was talking about Greenland?
And that every time a windmill turns, it costs $1,000. A lot of stuff stands out. None of this is normalized. There's a normalization of deviancy and consciousness and, comments and commentary. No other president, he's held to the curve. He's graded on a curve. I mean, it's really some jaw-dropping and remarkable statements that just, fly in the face of facts and evidence and common sense. So but they're so, you've heard them over and over and over again. Again, for the European audience, that may have been a new speech. My God, there wasn't anything new about that speech for the American audience. The only thing that was new is he said he's willing to negotiate, but wait a sec, that's not new either, because EU's been saying we've wanted to negotiate for over a year.
You criticize.
Yeah, and just so we all are on the same page, that earlier this morning, Donald Trump said, we need to acquire it. We need to take it over. NATO called me daddy, and now I'm not their daddy anymore. And I'm not their daddy but they better give me Iceland. I mean, Greenland, I'm your daddy. Here, play this clip.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right? Last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being.
I mean, look, would it shock you if the way, like I'm being serious here, that if the ultimate deal that was negotiated between Mark Rutte and Donald Trump was to refer to him as daddy, and Donald Trump's like, but will you call me daddy again? And then I won't invade. And then Mark Rutte's like, we will call you daddy. Okay, we'll call you. Oh, you're going to call me dad. That's what the world has been reduced to at this point under this Trump awful, psychotic timeline right now. But will you really call me daddy? Okay, Donald, we'll call you dad. The hell is even happening here? Like, are we all watching what is taking place? And then this was from the speech earlier today where Donald Trump's like, NATO hasn't given us anything and we need ownership of Greenland. I can't do a licensing deal. Why would I protect Greenland if we just had a licensing deal? And then you did some infinite deal that you don't acquire Greenland. And then Fox is like, brilliant. Brilliant. This is what we wanted the whole time. This will be like Puerto Rico. What are you, like Puerto Rico? What are you all even saying, you crazy people? Here, play this clip.
So what we have gotten out of NATO is nothing except to protect Europe from the Soviet Union and now Russia. I mean, we've helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything except we pay for NATO. And we paid for many years until I came along. We paid for, in my opinion, 100% of NATO because they weren't paying their bills. And all we're asking for is to get Greenland, including right title and ownership, because you need the ownership to defend it. You can't defend it on a lease. Number one, legally, it's not defensible that way, totally. And number two, psychologically, who the hell wants to defend a license agreement?
Oh, yes. Also, during the speech, Donald Trump said he was bringing battleships back. Here, play this clip.
Budget of $1.5 trillion. We're bringing back battleships. The battleship is 100 times more powerful than the great battleships you saw in World War II, those great, big, gorgeous ships, the Missouri, the Iowa, the Alabama. Because I thought maybe we could take them out of mothballs. They said, no, sir, these ships are 100, think of that, 100 times more powerful than those big, magnificent pieces of art that you...
I want to remind you that the world was asserting itself forcefully against Donald Trump. And this is why you just got to stand up to this guy and always punch back. You know, you had Prime Minister Carney invoking Article 5 and saying, you go invade Greenland, we're going to war against you. I'll play you that clip in a moment. You have Canada announcing that it was preparing war plans against the United States, preparing for possible invasions. Europe was sending special forces, preparing for a possible war against the United States. Greenland's premier said, get ready for an invasion. We have to be ready to fight for our sovereignty. Just to remind you, here's what Prime Minister Carney said yesterday. Play this clip.
On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future. Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic 8, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks including through Canada's unprecedented investments in over-the-horizon radar, in submarines, in aircraft, and boots on the ground, boots on the ice. Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic. On plurilateral trade, we're championing efforts to build a bridge between the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the European Union, which would create a new trading bloc of 1.5 billion people.
So just so utterly pathetic again of Donald. This whole charade. These words have serious consequences because you know what? Denmark and Greenland and all of these places, they are not going to forget about this. Oh, and by the way, I'll leave you with this. Putin, so happy. He says that Putin will contribute $1 billion to join Donald Trump's Board of Peace, that he's going to join it. So now the Board of Peace is Trump, Putin, Lukashenko, and Netanyahu. That's what has come out of Davos. I'll play. Here's what Putin said. Play it.
I think that we could contribute $1 billion to the Board of Peace from the frozen assets by the assets frozen by the previous administration, and the remaining funds from the funds frozen in the United States could be used to rebuild territories that suffered during hostilities once we sign a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.